Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike MMA with friends. If you like everything to do with boxing, MMA, and just straight up violence, hit that like button for me. Make sure you are subscribed and don't forget to ring that bell so you're notified whenever I drop a new video or go live like this Saturday for Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier 3. Wow, am I excited about that fight. For maybe the greatest heavyweight of all time, at least in the UFC. Let's have a conversation about greatest heavyweights. To me, not so long ago, there was four names in that pot. I'd go with Fabricio Werdum, Fedor Emelianenko, Stipe Miocic, and then Daniel Cormier. I no longer feel that way about Fabricio Werdum, although he's certainly all-time top 5. Let's talk about Fedor for a minute. A lot of people want to talk about his early days. He was in Pride. Of course, they used a lot of tainted supplements, whatever you want to call it over there. They weren't drug tested, and they were told so. I don't put any stock in that whatsoever, because if Fedor did take anything that's not legal in, say, the UFC or Bellator, it was definitely legal there, and everyone else was taking it, so he would have been on a level playing field. But I was thinking about it, and you look at the guys that did really well in Pride. I'm not saying everybody, but the guys that did really, really well. Like Fedor did really, really well there, undefeated in Pride. He was the only one that I can think of rocking the dad bod. He was the only one that didn't look like he was probably on something. And then, you know, he had one loss in his first 5. This guy was so great up until 2009. Basically undefeated. His 5th fight was against a guy named Tsuyoshi Kasuruka, I believe. 17 seconds, guys. 17 seconds. And the issue, it's hard to see the angle, and it's so far back. It was in 2000, place called, promotion called Ring Kings. I wouldn't want to say shady, but certainly not well known, not high production. And just a few seconds in, he catches what looks like it's either a right hand or possibly fingernails or elbow. There was no headbutt. I watched back several times. Fight's only 17 seconds, like I said. And it was stopped. You couldn't really see Fedor's eye because they were covering it with cloth, and all the videos that I can see. Looked to me, from everything I could see, it looked like he can continue. I don't know, maybe it was because it was so quick in the match, so much time left. It was strange. Anyways, Fedor ended up fighting that guy 2 more times, once again in Pride, and destroyed him. And then in Rizin, he decided he wanted to beat him up again in 2017. So he basically had a long stretch of being undefeated, and went over, you know, he won the belt in Pride, he won the belt in Affliction, he won the belt in Elite XC, dominated over there, won in Rizin, you know, and then went over to Bellator, you know, in basically his 3rd career. I think it was after 2 retirements. You know, has done pretty decent over there. Of course, he's 43 years old now, but if you compare, you know, those prime years, Fedor, definitely in the picture. You want to talk about just UFC, which I don't think is really fair, but if you did, yeah, it's Stipe Miocic. Most defenses of all time, most title fight wins, you know, 2-time champion there at heavyweight, no doubt. Daniel Cormier, you want to put him in that picture, you got to put in Strikeforce, and I believe you count Strikeforce because he fought some legitimate guys in that tournament over there in Strikeforce. Won the championship against Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett he was looking very good. He was looking very good at the time. These guys are not far off in age, Daniel Cormier and Josh Barnett. And I thought, man, Cormier's really going to get tested against Barnett. He's going in there undefeated. I want to say he was like 11-0 or something at the time, was Cormier. Goes in there and just smashes Josh Barnett. Then he knocks out the guy, the GOAT, the guy that was being considered the GOAT, the greatest heavyweight in the UFC. Knocks him out in the first fight. So even without the strike force, a lot of people say if Cormier beats Stipe twice, he's still not only the greatest heavyweight, but the greatest heavyweight in UFC history, because you can't have, you know, the guy that lost to one guy twice be the greatest. And I see the argument for that, but I'm going to say, you know, Fedor, he's got his spot on the heavyweight Mount Rushmore. And there's, if whoever wins this between Stipe and DC, I think it's going to be, you know, like a Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson kind of thing. Which guy was greater? You know, Jack Dempsey, Mike Tyson, who was greater? It's hard to compare, even though we have similar timelines, of course. But I say whoever wins this is obviously the greatest heavyweight in UFC history, and they're going to be one of, if not the greatest heavyweight of all time. How do I see that match going down? Of course, the first one, Daniel Cormier smashes Stipe Miocic, gets him with a shot early. We hadn't really seen DC strike like that in a long time. Certainly not a light heavyweight. And we've seen what he could do when he didn't have to lose that weight. Second fight, Daniel Cormier kind of dominating, I mean, not completely dominating, but he was certainly winning up there until the fourth round when Stipe Miocic started finding those body shots. I think he hit him 15 hooks to the body in that fourth round before he finished him. Let's back up again to the first fight for a second. Some people, including I believe Stipe, has kind of said that was a little bit of a fluke. Daniel Cormier landed one shot. Some people have said that, hey, you know, Stipe was maybe suffering the effects of taking all those shots in that fight with Francis Ngannou. Even though Ngannou didn't put him out, he landed some big shots. So, you know, maybe he was a bit compromised. That's nothing you can prove. I have no idea. A lot of people want to talk about the eye pokes. That is legitimate. Daniel Cormier says they're not purposeful. They happen in both fights, though. He says they're not personal. A lot of them happened in the second fight. A lot on the first two, but a lot more in the second, to the point that Stipe Miocic almost had to end his career because he had to have eye surgery. Daniel Cormier talked about this recently on Ariel Helwani and said, basically, he said, these guys are taller than me. I have to put my fingers out there to get that reach, to find that reach. It's something I'm not doing on purpose. He said, I am working on it. But then I didn't like what he said after that. It was a little bit of a backhanded admission. He says, if that's all they have to complain about, then I guess there's not much to complain about. The haters don't really have anything to complain about. Well, that's pretty legitimate. If you're raking a guy's eyes consistently, I mean, just so many multiple eye pokes. And I would go back and say that, you know, the referee failed, should have taken away points from Daniel Cormier. Would that have changed the result? Probably not, except maybe for Cormier. Maybe Cormier gets more desperate. Maybe he lands a big shot. I don't know, knowing that he's down on the scorecards at that point. Maybe Stipe, you know, doesn't come out with that brilliant game plan of the body shots because he thinks he's got a lead on the scorecards. It's hard to say, but we're going to find out this Saturday, guys, and it's in a smaller cage. Stipe Miocic said he has been practicing in a smaller cage. He's been training to get used to that. At first, he fought the idea. He obviously wasn't very happy. A lot of you probably seen that he was not very happy about the small cage. A lot of people think that gives pretty good advantage to Daniel Cormier. And in wrestling, I think it will. You know, Stipe has the reach advantage, so a lot of people are saying, hey, he's taller, he's got more reach, things like that. That's going to give the advantage to Cormier. And maybe to a point, but we have seen guys in this smaller cage. It's not like these guys are fighting in a phone booth. I mean, yeah, it's significantly smaller, but this is still a pretty good sized cage. There's a lot of room to move around. Don't quote me, but I think if it were a boxing ring, I believe that's a decent sized boxing ring. Anyways, we've seen guys be able to use their reach. We've seen Kevin Holland use it very successfully just this last Saturday, and Stipe likes to bang. If Daniel Cormier wants to get in there with him and bang and, you know, fight in close quarters, I'm sure Stipe is more than willing to oblige him. Stipe has shown great takedown defense. Daniel Cormier's had a real hard time getting him down. Maybe the small cage affects that some. I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as a lot of people are making it out to be. We'll see. I don't think it's going to decide the fight. I'll tell you that. I think whoever is better on that night. Both guys are looking in great shape. Anyways, guys, I still have some tape to break down, so I will give you an official prediction for that fight. But that's where I stand on the greatest heavyweights. You know, nobody can dethrone Fedor at this point as the GOAT, but you can match him. The winner of this, I think, can say, you know, these are the GOATs. These are the guys on Mount Rushmore. Who's better? They never fought. It's too close to say. But the winner of this match certainly, you know, has a claim to that GOAT status. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. I want to know, who do you think is the greatest heavyweight of all time? Will this match, this next Saturday, August 15th, will that decide it? And what do you think should be next? Win or lose for Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier? Looks like Stipe Miocic's probably fighting Francis Ngannou if he gets past Cormier. If Cormier wins, I know they're going to try to pull him out for a Jon Jones trilogy. He says win or lose, he's retired. We'll see if the UFC backs up a truckload of money. Anyways, guys, tomorrow, don't forget, Tuesday night Contender Series, Dana White. Tuesday night Contender Series. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses later.